everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Rebecca. I'm an animal communicator and spiritual medium. I have two channels here on YouTube: Spirit Journey of Enlightenment, which covers all things spirituality and navigating the human experience, and The Words of the Wild, which is wisdom from Mother Earth and sharing important messages from the animal kingdom. Thank you for joining me today. I want to speak about something that it's come into my own kind of vision over the last couple of years, and it's something I kind of wasn't aware of, then I was suddenly hyper aware of it in my own life. And I encountered it again today, and it's quite funny because when spirit come through with messages, quite often they won't hold back. They don't do what we do as humans, where we sugarcoat things, we tiptoe around things. When we're trying to say something, we don't always say exactly what we mean. And quite often your spirit guides can be quite blunt with you. They can just come through and they'll tell it like it is. They give you that message straight, and they just want you to hear it and to act upon it. And so what happened to me today was, I was recording and I was fiddling around with my mic settings because I was getting a lot of background noise, and I was trying to suppress it. And working on it, I was suddenly really aware when I was listening back to it that I could hear what I call mouth sounds. And mouth sounds is one of my pet hates. I don't like hearing people eating, especially if they're not eating with their mouth closed. And I don't like hearing when you can hear like people licking their lips or the saliva when people are talking. And at the moment, I'm still undergoing a really long process of treatment with braces, and I still have my bottom braces on. And the way that my teeth are moving at the moment, it's given me a little bit of a speech impediment, which no one else has noticed, but I've noticed it because I'm hyper aware of it being something that I don't like. And it's quite funny because there's nothing wrong. Firstly, I want to say that there's nothing wrong. We all have, and I see a lot of funny kind of funny little videos, where people are acting out things that annoy you. And I think all of us, I think anyone that says they have nothing that annoys them wouldn't be being truthful. We all have pet hates, little things that annoy us. It can be from here, like I was saying, like hearing mouth sounds, people talking loudly, people fidgeting. It can be anything that is human behavior can be considered irritating to somebody else, whether we might think it's normal or not. And there's nothing wrong with that. Quite often those things sometimes I found, I don't know where it comes from. You'll suddenly be like, something will happen and you'll be like, oh, that's really irritating. It's something that's really kind of like, it's almost like the way I describe it is like nails on a chalkboard. It gives you that very visceral reaction of like, oh, I don't like it. And you don't always know why. And having looked into that, I think it could either be something that you might not remember happening, but on a subconscious level, you're actually remembering it from the past, from a past experience. And so it's become something that you're subconsciously associating with another memory. Or it could be something that you actually do remember that has happened. And, something perhaps you had a difficult relationship, and the person that you're no longer in the relationship with, excuse me, the person you're no longer in the relationship with is constantly doing this one thing. So perhaps they were always fidgeting, or they were always chewing with their mouth open, and it just used to bug you. And now whenever you hear it, it reminds you of them, and it's kind of, it bugs you even more. So there's nothing wrong with it. We all have these things, but I just thought it was funny that kind of spirit made me more aware in my own the work that I was trying to do, and it was really irritating me. And I was like, oh, I can hear it, and if I can hear it, other people can hear it. And they simply said to me, what are you focusing on? Is that important, or is the message important? Like, what's actually important? the message? Are you hearing the message, or are you hearing the mouth sounds? And it made me laugh, because something that I learned, and it was probably a couple of years ago, there would be sometimes you might hear somebody talking, and for whatever reason, it's very similar to like how people's energy, you don't always gel with certain people when you meet them. And again, there's nothing wrong in it. This is the human experience. I'm just being completely open about my own experience, and I'm sure that you can relate. Sometimes you might hear someone talking, and again, you feel that, oh, like they're hard to listen to. I remember many years ago, we used to have, in the job that I worked in, we used to have health and safety training once a year. And the gentleman that came in to do it, he was a really nice guy, but he had the worst voice for keeping you engaged. He was completely monotone. He wasn't animated at all. He would just stand and deliver what he was saying, and the whole thing would sound the same. And you can imagine that if you were in a room looking at a projector screen, so all the lights are off, it's quite warm, there's a lot of you in a room, and this is just this one tone of voice that's going, and it's not going to keep your engagement, and you start to drift away from what's actually being said, and you're not listening, and then you're thinking other things about, what am I having for dinner tonight, and you're not actually paying attention. And again, it's not that gentleman's fault. That's how I personally felt. And I know a couple of my other colleagues used to be like, oh, not him again. And it was really awful, because that's just him. There was nothing wrong with him. That was just him. But how we're all very different. There are things that we like, things that we gel with, things that resonate with us. And it got me thinking, and I was kind of having this when I work with spirit. There's a variety of ways that messages come to me from spirit. I'll hear them. I'll see what I call film strips, where it's like a movie that will play and I can see with my third eye. And this was one of those times where I was kind of shown and replaying all of these things that had happened previously. So I was seeing this, transported back to the office and sitting there and having this talk and thinking, oh, this is, I'm falling asleep. This is so hard to keep up listening to, and thinking about other people, when I've heard other people that you might kind of be like, oh, their accent's quite hard to understand. There's somebody that I follow who has a beautiful accent, but it's a very thick accent. And then when they get very passionate about what they're talking about, they speak very quickly, and then it suddenly becomes quite difficult to understand them. And again, that's not on them. That's something I struggle with. But the main point of what Spirit were trying to say to me today was, you need to try and look beyond that. You need to push all of the distractions aside. So the distractions of this person, it does some weird gestures when they talk. This person, what's going on with their hair? Like, why is their hair so distracting if it's like a really vibrant colour? What are they wearing? Oh, I wonder where that top's from. That's not, you're all of the things, and people's voices, what they're saying could potentially have such amazing value for your spiritual development and your journey through this lifetime, that all of that other stuff is becoming noise. And it's funny, because it's like the noise suppression that you put on your microphone to get rid of all the background noise. All of those things is noise suppression, but you're actually suppressing what could be potentially really important information. And I just started thinking, like, how many times do we do that? I've done it in the past. And as I said, I became really hyper aware of it a couple of years ago. And now I find myself really pushing myself through. If I perhaps see a video pop up that's an interesting topic that I want to listen to, and then I'll start listening to it and I'll think, oh, that person doesn't quite gel with me, or, oh, their accent's a bit hard to understand. What I will do is actually tune into the energy of the message. And doing that, you will find that actually it becomes easier, because you're then connecting on an energy level. It's almost like, because we're all connected, and, this is a thing, obviously, working with animals, you'll see in my other channel with animal communication, many people would, you'd go up to a dog, a cat, an elephant, and you'd be like, oh, you're making noises, but I don't know what it means. And I don't have that issue. I can hear the conversation as I'm talking to you now. So it's only right that when we connect on an energy level with other humans, we're going to be able to remove those boundaries of not understanding. And it's the same with language barriers as well. I've watched several things on Instagram recently that were in a completely different language, but I didn't need to hear what was being said. I could feel the energy, I could see the images, I could actually understand without understanding, if that makes sense. It's like understanding on a deeper level. So while it isn't wrong at all to have those, the pet peeves and the things that irritate you. They make us all unique, just like our likes do, our hobbies. Our dislikes are things that make us unique as well, and we're entitled to them. But just perhaps to sometimes expand your vision and think, this could be a really important message. And I've even done it, if you struggle, what I've done before, especially if it's a longer video perhaps that you want to watch, say on YouTube, you watch as much as you can stand. So you'll watch a bit, even if it's only 5 or 10 minutes. You'll watch a bit and then you'll think, okay, I'll take a break, and then you'll come back to it again perhaps the next day, and you'll watch a little bit more. And what I've found with that is it totally breaks down that you're not putting pressure on yourself, like, well, you should understand this, and then, because then you're in a whole other realm of, you're making yourself feel like the original feelings that you had were wrong. And that's not what this is about. This is saying, okay, I acknowledge that I feel this way about this, but is the message important? Am I missing the message by being, having my hearing kind of covered by all of the things that I'm thinking? So I hope maybe that makes sense to you. And I say that as someone who actually really does not like public speaking. And strangely, I did a lot of amateur dramatics when I was younger, and I loved it. And I actually grew up wanting to do that kind of thing. But it's very different when you're playing a character, because when you're playing a character, everyone knows you're playing a character, and so there's no pressure there. When you're in real life, it's just you. And we are human, and we do make judgments on people, but it's just trying to take that moment to kind of take a step back and go, okay, but what is the actual message? Is the message of value to me right now, where I am on my pathway? Can this help me to move forward spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally? And you will find things open up so much. You can take little nuggets from everything. And that's something beautiful that I have found in the last couple of years. Even if you listen to someone, and I think we've become really kind of like trigger happy, like when emojis were created, as fun as they are, I think it also gave people like a really quick reaction, rather than actually thinking about something. And I've been guilty of it in the past. You'll start listening to something, or something will pop up, like, you might be interested in this, and it might be something that you do not agree with, you don't resonate with, and straight away you're like thumbs down, or alternatively you're like, I love this heart emoji, and then halfway through you're suddenly like, oh no, hang on a minute, oh no, this is going in a different direction to what I thought, I don't agree with this at all. And that's okay. Again, it's part of the human experience, but let's not be so quick to do that, to react. Let's actually listen to the message, to the whole message. And then even if you don't agree with all of it, there's probably something in there that you could go, oh, okay, that's given me, it's given me a different way to think about something. Or you can actually take something away and go research something, or you can think, oh, that's interesting, I never thought about that before, I might look further into that. And then you've kind of opened up a whole new avenue for you to go and move in a slightly different direction to learn and grow, rather than, always reacting very quickly. It's about kind of catching yourself in that quick reaction phase. And we've been programmed to do it, with with the kind of the limits of time on videos. And it's part of the reason that I've moved over to YouTube to do more work here, because I hated, as someone who struggles already to feel comfortable with the speaking and getting the message across. And when you're working for Spirit, the message that's coming through will come through as it needs to come through. Spirit's not going to go, well, there's, a 90-second limit, or people have only got 15 seconds of attention. The message is the message, and it comes through as it's needed. So we've kind of fallen into this trap of like, everything's really quick, everything's now. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Make a decision. And we need to slow down. Everything is so fast, but we need to slow down, because we are missing vital information. We're not even really thinking for ourselves anymore. We're just being fed constantly. If oh, you're popular if you like this is what's trending, all of this, you're bombarded constantly. But actually, you can find some really beautiful things in unexpected places. So my message to you today is to, when you realize that something is perhaps triggering you or making you think, oh, I can't really listen to this. I don't like hearing the way they talk, or the accent's kind of hard to understand. Just go inward and look at it from a heart perspective of love. Like, this is a person who is trying to share something with you. They obviously feel it's important enough to share. And is there something that you can learn? Is there something that you can take on board yourself? Or perhaps someone, perhaps this isn't relative to you, but perhaps someone that actually they were speaking to you about this very thing the other day, and that they would love it. Almost like buying a gift for someone. You see something and it's not your kind of thing, but you absolutely know who would love it. So I leave that message with you with love. It did make me laugh today, because it stopped me in my own tracks, and it was like, one of the things that irritates you, you're now being irritated by yourself. But that's not what's important. The message is what is important. So I leave that with you with love from me and from my Spirit team. If it resonates with you, wonderful. If it doesn't, thank you for listening anyway. And as I said, you don't have to take anything on board that doesn't resonate with you. Just be open to the message. If you like my content, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will speak to you again too. Thank you for being here.